Today's interview is with Julie Holly. As you'll hear, Julie's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed recording this. I had a lot of laughs with her. Julie started investing in single-family homes. She had a house hack, and then she did some more stuff that she managed remotely, which increased the skill level in real estate investing. And then she transitioned into multifamily investing, and that's where she's now. She was also a classroom teacher, so as she says in this interview, she likes to teach and use that skill set that she's had. So really interesting interview, really fun interview. So stick around for all of that. As always, like and subscribe on Wrestling with Real Estate, the YouTube channel. Go to the WWRE podcast and give me a 5-star rating and write me a great review. It really does help us build this platform, so please go ahead and do so. And I'm looking to speak to as many of you as possible. If you're interested in real estate in whatever capacity that is, I'd love to get to know you, see if there's any way whatsoever I can help you. So go to the link in the description down below, or go to wrestlingwithrealestate.com and sign up there. But before that, stick around for today's awesome interview with Julie Holly. Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Julie Holly. Hey Julie, how are you doing?
Hey, I am doing exceptional. I get to hang out with you for a little bit and I'm stoked about that.
Well, how can you not be, right? No, I'm just kidding.
I know, exactly.
Well, hey, for people who don't know, she's got a friggin' awesome background, like the virtual background. It's just, I'd say 100, 200 small pictures of yourself, right?
Thousands. I mean, it kind of makes me feel like I'm narcissistic or something, but I'm really not a narcissist. It's just, I just shrunk down my podcast face, cover and cover art and just like made it little micro size. And not everybody realizes that that's like a bunch of little Julies like staring.
Oh, they didn't?
They're smiling, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's pretty funny. Well, hey, we're going to dive into the conversation a little bit, but, following the format that we always go, I always ask guests to kind of introduce themselves, right, and tell us a little bit about your background, what you've been up to, and what your current focus is, so we have an idea.
It's fantastic. Well, I am Julie Holly. I know, on my podcast, I don't even do very many formal introductions because I'm like, oh, it's so awkward. So I like this format. I can introduce myself however I want, right?
Yeah, you make it up. We wouldn't know.
I know. Just don't go verify. Just trust. Don't verify any of this. No kidding.
That's what you should do in all lines of business. Always trust and never verify.
Exactly. Always. Definitely. Ask Mandy, right? So anyhow, I'm Julie Holly, and I've been investing in real estate for 20 years now. I have parallel careers between being a classroom teacher and involved in real estate in some capacity. So I began as a residential realtor. Well, I began investing with my first house, which was like a total house hack before it was house hacking. And that was super fun, like toilet sinking in the subfloor, and like you had to take the shop vac. You'll appreciate this. I'm like, shop vac goes first, like sucking up everything. So that was super fun. And then my husband and I got married, and we just thought, let's just build a little portfolio. We'll just live a modest lifestyle and just keep acquiring properties, right? Seems like a simple thing. We didn't have any experience investing. So we had no guidance, nobody to show us the ropes in a sense, right? So we were just like, okay, we're going to do this. And it's, it works. It made sense. And, you acquired a few. And then it was like, I don't know about this. There's got to be a better way. I was managing like one of our properties from 1,000 miles away. It's like one's in Denver, and we moved back to California. So it's like, it's self-managed and successfully. Like, so that was really cool. So it's like, okay, I know that I can like take care of tenants from far away. So anyhow, that's kind of my experience. He let me go, like we sold off our investments, and we said, we're going to hold them for when everything tanks. It didn't tank. I got antsy, and I'm like, honey, I can't handle this anymore. I need to get back to investing. And he said, okay. And that's when I found multifamily real estate. It was like, rainbows, unicorns, leprechauns, all of it. The skies parted and it was like, la. So that was super amazing. And from then it's been a nonstop, full on sprint to learn about investing, to do it on my own. And now I'm making that transition from passive investor who has tried things and figured it out and can actually lead people. And I don't have to feel like, is this really the best way? Should we really be having you switch your your retirement accounts to this entity? Should we really do that? Like, I actually know what I'm doing with full confidence. So that's why like this background with education is really fun, because I want to be educated, because that's like the core of who I am, right? So like, okay, let's do this. So super fun. I'm currently invested in Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm looking to expand into Kansas.
Interesting.
Yeah. Did I just use like 14 million words in the last 3 minutes? Is that a record?
I don't know. We'll have to go back and count it. We'll have to get someone from the Guinness Book of World Records to come in.
I know.
Verify. It was great. It was great. So you started investing like 20 years ago?
Yes.
That's nuts. Like how did that come about? So was it just a case I want to buy a house to live in, or was it like I want to buy a house but I want it to be an investment as well?
So initially it was, I want to buy a house to live in. Who wants to pay rent? And then it turns into, oh, I can get a roommate. After I fixed up this house and I can get a roommate and they can help pay, like that's a novelty. Nobody was explaining this. Like everything people get to learn today through podcasts and YouTube and everything. I mean, like everybody gets to just collapse all the timelines. And here I was, I mean, this is in the early 2000s, right? Yeah. So that's a long time ago. And I had to think about that, timeline of graduating college and jumping in. So I was like 23 and jumping in, and that was really good.
Yeah, well, that's interesting though. Like at 23 years of age, not only did you buy a house, right? So that's an accomplishment in itself at 23 to buy a house. Yeah. But you decided you wanted to buy a fixer-upper, right? It had some work. Yeah. So but like most people will be like, no, I'm not doing this. There's no like first young. Did you have like any kind of construction background? Did you have any like family members that invest in real estate? Any of that?
So I have a very good background in real estate. So my grandpa was a residential realtor. My dad was a residential realtor. So they weren't investors. My grandpa did have some rentals, but that was very quiet and I didn't learn about that until later, right? Mm-hmm. But my dad, I mean, like I understood my entire life was around real estate, but it was around residential real estate. So I understood that. I understood how to get in and fix a house and things like that.
You did? You were through your dad in terms of fixing stuff? You had an idea?
I had an idea. Did I do the work? No. No. Now I can do a lot of work. I can now. And I did do like all the painting, and I had to strip off like 5 layers of wallpaper. No joke. 1920s house. Had to strip off 5 layers of wallpaper, and it had paint on top of it. It was a lot. It was so much sweat equity, but that taught me a huge amount. I gained a lot of skill sets, but those aren't skills that I want to utilize. Quite frankly, like that's why I'm in multifamily investing. Like, yeah, that's all cool, but there's another way where I don't have to be all dirty and grimy. If I can be dirty and grimy, I want to be on my mountain bike. I don't want to be like fixing the house.
Yeah, and plus there's a return on your time, right? Like what is your time best spent, right? Like scraping the walls and painting and doing all the work yourself, or can you pay someone else 15, 20, 25, 30, whatever it is, right, to do that? And can you focus on something more productive in your business, right? It's just like people get bogged down by that. I think like they need to do everything themselves because they think that they're saving, right? Well, if your plan is to invest and to grow your portfolio and do other things, right, you got to consider that sometimes, right? I think people get too bogged down by like, hey, I've got to do all the work myself.
Oh, gosh, I'm all about delegation. I used to be that person. I always say like I'm a recovering control freak. And so I just own it. My partners know that. I like came right out of the closet the moment we were talking about becoming partners. It's like, Yeah, so you need to know this. I'm aware of it. You can hold me accountable. I'm fine with that. But like, what's the point? Like you're saying, I'd rather spend time with my kids and my family.
Yeah.
I'd rather be getting together with people and mentoring them and like enriching lives than scraping walls or ripping out flooring. I mean, it's great that I understand how to do that. It's great I've laid wood floor. It's really great to have that. Maybe someday I'll have to fall back. I don't know.
At
No.
least you know you can do it if you need. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
Times get,
no.
times get hard. You can hire Julie to come do your work.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
how many? So then you bought that property. Then how did you buy any more before you met your husband? You got married, or was the next investments after you guys got married?
yeah. The next investment was after we got married. So we held on to that house and I had faced some difficult times in early adulthood. And so we basically said, you know what, we'd really like to reach out and help people that are different people have to get their feet back on the ground in different ways. And so we were just thinking, how can we help, women who are coming out of really difficult situations? That's a dicey situation. Sometimes people might not even look good on paper, and they need somebody to be in their corner. And so that was really the heart behind like why we wanted to get into investing. It was like a dual purpose. It's like, okay, it'll serve us for our retirement, but we can actually like serve people really well, because if we own it, we can decide who our tenants are. And if they look sketchy on paper, maybe they have a low credit or whatever, but if we have different ways of verifying who they are, then we can give them an opportunity and help them get reestablished in life. So
That's
it's a
pretty
really
cool.
great, yeah, it's really cool. So there is a lot of heart. It's like, eh, if you're investing with your own personal things, you certainly like, I can't responsibly do that necessarily in the multifamily space when you have multiple partners and passive investors involved. But if it's something that you own outright, you have that luxury of being able, and I mean, we are self-managing. So it's like, okay, I have the luxury of doing this. And that's a great opportunity.
Yeah. So
So I'll tell you, one of the interesting situations, I will throw this out there. We had some people that had applied and that we were considering, and they ended up not being able to, but because of some crazy thing that had happened 15 years on his record, he couldn't live within proximity of schools and things like that. Something he'd done when he was a teenager, it kind of screwed him up. And here he is, 10, 15 years later, and still is shackled. And it's like, there are people like this that need to have places to go.
yeah.
Great people who've had a turnaround in life, but their past still haunts them.
Yeah, and what I've heard, I haven't witnessed it firsthand, is a lot of these people that when you do give them that chance, they're the best tenants ever because they're so grateful, right? They're not going to mess anything up, and they're so thankful for you for giving them chance and giving them a great place to live.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I will say that is my experience as well.
How do you balance that, right? Between obviously trying to give people a chance and trying to, obviously take on people that might not normally be able to qualify for that kind of home, and at the same time protecting your asset, right? Because obviously you want to give people a chance, but you don't want to just let people walk all over you, right? So how do you find that balance between finding that tenant that you can help, that deserves a chance, between that tenant that just has that record, has that stigma for a reason, right?
There is a balance. There's fully a balance between that. So like I am usually a smiley kind of person, and it's kind of funny because your smile can say a lot, and you can say a lot through your smile. And so there is a level of passive aggressiveness. No kidding. No, I say that tongue in cheek, but I mean, like, I would tell our tenants that we were interviewing, we're taking a chance on you and we're willing to do this, but here is, and I would be very like, smile would go away, and I would be extremely serious and say, here's what I expect, and this is what will happen if these expectations aren't met.
Mm,
And so it's like, I just believe that when people have really clear expectations and they know, hey, warm, caring, but you do have to have that business edge. And so with every tenant that I placed, that's how it was. It was like, yeah, that's really great. I like people, but you know what? You cross the line, this isn't going to work out.
yeah. I think it's about training them as well, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you've you've got to train your tenants. Like I'm sure being a teacher, though, you might have been good at that, right? You could use those skill set, right? Because it's, you've got to set expectations, like you said, and just like have rules, follow those rules, and don't waver from those rules, right? Because the second you do, people will take that advantage from you, right? If you say rent is due by the first, if you let them by the 7th or 8th, oh, okay, I'll pay tomorrow. Well, what are you telling them? What are you allowing them to do, right? Because I'm sure they're paying for other stuff, right? So you've got to make sure that you're their priority as well, right?
Never once had late payments. Well, like, I shouldn't say that. I had, the phone call, hey, my work delayed, but the check will be in the mail in 2 days. So it wasn't even a matter of, oh, it's going to be late and I don't even know about it. It's proactive on their part, in my experience. But that, really comes down to, if you have a relationship of respect. And I mean, I was always very proactive and very involved. So, a couple times a year, I'd have that message, at text that says, hey, what needs to be fixed? Hey, what this? Hey, what's going on? And so I think when they know that you're an active, for me, I was an active manager. And so it wasn't like things never a slumlord. And so they feel like, oh, they're paying attention to everything. They really care and they're really paying attention. And I think that might be the finesse right there.
Yeah, no, I think it is. But how did you react to that out of interest? Because that's a specific situation, and those things I think actually are interesting rather than a general overview sometimes. So they message saying, "Hey, sorry, check is going to be. I was delayed getting paid from work. Check is going to be there in 2 days, right?" For a lot of people, they might be listening and not experienced landlords. They might be, okay, that's great. They've told me blah blah blah. But unfortunately, a lot of times tenants, and I don't want to class them all the same, they don't always tell the truth, right? They sometimes make excuses and things that are not true. So how did you handle that? What was your response to that? Because 2 days can come in and they'd be like, oh, it's not there yet. 3 days come in, oh, it's not there yet. 4 days, oh, I sent it.
Oh my gosh.
And then you're 7 days in and your tenant still hasn't paid. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, that's interesting. So we had already an established relationship of paying consistently and on time for at least 6 months with that particular tenant. So it was like, okay, that is an anomaly and you have a track record. And so I didn't knee jerk. I just said, oh, okay, I will be looking for it specifically. I'll let you know when I get it. You just kind of let them know, okay, got your message. This is, I'm looking, I'm wide-eyed about all of this, and I'll let you know if I don't receive it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I think sometimes just letting people know that you're present is powerful.
Yeah. And I think also what you said there, which is good, is that you knew that tenant, right? You understood that tenant's behavior, right?
Yes.
Like had that tenant missed a couple of earlier payments or been late on other payments, maybe your response would have been different, right? You may have been a lot more suspicious, but because they had 6 months of a good track record, it was fair to say that.
Are you kidding me, Barry? If they had that track record, there would be no grace. Be like, okay, well, I need you. I would more than likely I would have responded in the sense of, okay, well, you're going to incur the late fee. I didn't charge a late fee in this instance because it was a isolated incident. It's no big deal. However, if that was something that was ongoing, be like, okay, well, there is this late fee and I do need to have it by this specific date according to our contract. I would start pulling out the contract and being very clear and deliberate and reminding them of the consequences and suggesting you might want to borrow that money in the meantime.
Yeah. That's great. That's cool. I like that, both sides of how to respond in 2 different ways, right, depending on the tenant. I think that's cool. How many what did your guys' portfolio of single family properties grow to, and where were you investing? So it's 2 questions.
It wasn't huge. So we were in California and we were in Colorado, and like I said, we just kept what we owned. So we had 3 houses and it was perfect. It's perfect to manage, so when you're self-managing, that's really great. But like I said, we sold them off and we're like, okay, we're going to use this to invest elsewhere, invest in different ways.
Were these properties that you guys had lived in and that turned into rentals?
Yep, exactly. So just kind of move up along the way. And that's what you do when you don't know anything at all and you don't have someone around you. guiding you and everything. Now that we have podcasts and now that we have people around us, it's exponential. Like the sky is the limit now. It's ridiculous. And it feels, this is where I feel I could get a little bitter a little bit if I think about, I was raised in real estate. I was around real estate my entire life. And I was told like, oh, commercial real estate, oh, that's not, that's good for them. Stay away from commercial real estate. And I was also shown like, don't get into rentals. I'm not kidding you. Rentals are a headache. Tenants are terrible. You'll get stiffed. You'll be up the creek. I mean, like all I heard were all the negative things about rentals. And so for me to take that step, it was like this huge step. Meanwhile, my parents had a couple of rentals. They bought one or two houses, and those houses, it was like right before the .com crash. And everything, I mean, like they ended up losing a ton of money. And so I think they were jaded, and they had that tenant that was not paying. Now, I was a kid, I was in middle school at the time, so I don't really know the nuances of it, but it would be I wish I could ask, but my dad is no more. So I can't ask him all the details, but it's like, oh, I wish I would have known. But seeing their experiences and hearing people talk about it, it was like, I don't even know how I decided. It's just that I think on my own, and I decided that this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's awesome that you did, because I think that's a huge problem. I think, right, is like anyone who wants to get in real estate is everything, the noise that's all around them, right? Because like we do, you and me, we do podcasts, and we're surrounded by real estate, we're surrounded by people that are doing it. So we're surrounded, luckily, and it's a great thing, by people that love real estate, right? And that like advocates for investing in real estate, right? And doing big things and improving your life and doing all this stuff. But I think the normal person, unfortunately, is surrounded by all these people. Like, but it's two things, right? I think one, sometimes it's jealousy, right? If they hear someone's going to go in real estate and they're like, oh, they want to do it themselves, maybe, so they add this negativity to it. But also, I think they just don't understand, right? They just don't understand it, so they mean well. A lot of people, they mean well. They want to defend, protect their friends and their family, but they project this negativity onto this person who wants, and this person then gets scared, like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't invest in real estate. Maybe real estate is scary. Maybe I can lose everything I can invest in real estate, right? But in reality, real estate done right is a pretty safe bet to some. I know stuff can go wrong, stuff will go wrong, but done right, it's a great investment, right? Don't you think?
Oh, it's a phenomenal investment. And I wish I would have understood that I could have gone into commercial real estate so much sooner. I wish I would have understood that there's this thing called passive investing, and that I could easily just kerplop 50 grand over here with this sponsor and make and have dividends and all the tax benefits. And I mean, like, the laundry list of amazingness. I'm like, how did I make it to the middle years of life? So like, how did I make it this long without knowing any of this? This is not fair. Granted, I choose to not go that route, right? Because I'd be like turning into a, Star Wars Sith Lord or something, right? It'd be something negative. Like, I'll take the positive and gratitude, embrace gratitude. And like, I'm so grateful that I know this. And that's like a huge reason why I want to go and tell people about it. It's like, you guys are missing out. This is a great opportunity. It really is safe. Ironically, it's extremely safe. Yes, things can go sideways, but things can go sideways, and they do all the time over on the stock market, and nobody seems to squawk about it. So why not diversify over in this way?
Yeah. Actually, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to start the podcast, actually, because in the outside of real estate circles that I'm in, like, you'd hear people saying, oh, real estate's dangerous. I don't want to deal with tenants. I have property managers. I don't want to deal with a broken toilet at midnight on Saturday night. Come on, how many people have dealt with that, right? And even if that's the worst thing that you have to deal with, that's the biggest scare stopping you from getting into real estate, that's going to change your life and improve your life. Is that really like
a toilet? Really? That's the best you got?
If it means like improving your life, you taking control of everything you have, and like just creating so much more for yourself, is that really a price to pay? And again, I think it goes back to, again, like, people like to protect themselves and protect their ego, right? So either they're too lazy or too scared to do it, so they make up an excuse so that it's not, so they don't have to go, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not taking enough action, or I'm not willing to do what other people aren't. I can make up this excuse and then I'm done. That's easy. That's it. I don't have to
You
look.
are you are so spot on with that. I mean, it requires effort. And so that's when you find out who's really committed and who's just interested. Oh, that sounds interesting. But people who are committed, they're willing to do a little bit of suffering. Now, that whole property management side of things, like I will admit, that is part of the reason I did want to get out, because I did have that, even though I had fantastic tenants. And by the way, most tenants, the majority of them are really great tenants.
Yeah.
Like we hear about the bad ones because they're the anomaly.
Yeah.
Like that's the rare thing. We hear about like the broken toilet because that doesn't happen every day. That's interesting to talk about. It's like, what's so interesting about saying like, yeah, so hey Barry, all the rinse in on time, and it's
Yeah.
the paint, it looked perfect. Right? Like that's a boring conversation. So you always hear about like the scary stories.
True. Yeah.
But managing those properties, there is that level of okay, well, if something does go wrong, and we always had reserves. But here's the thing, it's nice to go into multifamily and say, great, you know what, if we have this happen with a tenant, awesome, everything else is being covered by our business plan and by the other rental income coming in. Like there's an actual plan in place. There's so many layers of protection in place that if you have one or two, knuckleheads, it's still going to be okay. The sky's not going to fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And also you can delegate your time. Again, it's a delegation of tasks, right? You can give that away to people, right? It's not that
Property manager, woohoo.
yeah, exactly, right. And again,
Yes.
like, because all of this is essentially when we're trying to create a life for ourselves, right? That's what it is. Nobody is like, nobody that I've met yet anyway is like, I want a pool full of money so I can go dive in it every morning, or like so I can sit at my home all day just counting my money, right? 100 bill after another. It's not that. It's about the life that you create for yourself, right? The money just creates that freedom and that opportunity for you to live whatever life you wanted to live, right? It's not a dollar amount for a lot of us, right? Per se, it's a dollar amount in terms of what you need to get to create that life, but it's not a dollar amount in mind of, oh, I want $1 million because I love money. You know what I mean?
It's not at all. And you're right, it does. Once you start delegating it out, then you do have that lifestyle that you want, and you have time with your kids and time investing in the things that are important and purposeful in your life.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, and we have that ability. I think that's just so amazing to me when I realized like you have the ability to create whatever life you want for yourself. It's just like when I like realized that, my brain pretty much exploded. Like you have the ability. Everyone like who's listening, everyone, especially if you're born in America, you have that opportunity to create whatever life you want for yourself. And it's just nuts to me, really. Like I'm so passionate about that. It's so cool. So
But
you
it's amazing how many people don't realize that and that luxury. I just believe everybody has something within them to give to the world in a powerful way, but we trap it. And so there's so much. Everyone has something amazing to give.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. That sounds even better than everyone has something to give and to share with the world, right? And you just need to realize that and find a way to do that. And yeah, that's really cool. So you ended up selling all three of those properties. When did you end up selling those? Was it recently?
Yeah. So we sold them off not all at once. And we sold the last place in Denver. That is the only regret I have out of everything. That's like my one regret. So we had a place in Denver, a nice condo, perfect, 2-2. But again, it was like just preceded understanding. It was like I hadn't started educating myself yet, but we had sold that as like our seed money. Oh my gosh, Barry, it's like the worst decision ever.
Why?
We turned a nice profit on it and everything. That's great. But I didn't know about Burr.
Ah,
I didn't know anything. Like when I say that I have learned exponentially, because once I started drinking the Kool-Aid and just going down the path of self-education, it was hard. It gave me like literally, I got like a knot in my stomach the first time I heard that, and we had sold our place in Denver. And so that was what 2018, 2017. 2017, early 2018, something like that. Right. And anyway, we thought we were like hitting the peak of the market. So we're like, we understand real estate cycles. I understand the basics of real estate quite well, the fundamentals, there's the word I was looking for, because I've lived through the cycles. And so my husband, he happens to be a residential realtor. And so, we're like, hey, we're in an elongated cycle again. We should be flushing out already. Like, we're high, like this is high, let's sell high. You don't have to be at the top of the mountain to make a good profit. And if you hit the top of the mountain and you don't know that you're falling down, then you end up losing. So we watched everybody do that in 08. So I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable with this, let's sell it. Worst decision ever, only because we could have snagged the equity out of it, still had that, invested the equity. I mean, like, we all know how it could have gone. And that it takes the wind out of my sail.
Yeah, but to be fair, you didn't know, right? It made sense.
I didn't.
I did something similar, maybe a year or two afterwards, where I had property that got up enough, and I was like, okay, the market might still go up, but I've made money. I can take these chips off the table, and I'm happy with what I've made, right? And since then, they've gone up quite a bit more. But like, who would have known, right? And it could have gone the other way. So I think you would have been kicking yourself even more had you not taken that off, right? You would have. So it's it's easy to get caught up in that, and I do it myself. Like you talked about earlier, like being around real estate for so long and not investing in commercials. Like I wish in 2011 I bought everything. I was living in Florida at the time. Can you imagine the deals in Florida in 2011?
Wow.
But I didn't know about real estate then. I had even in 2014 I bought my house there. I didn't even get that crazy a deal. Like I could have bought a deal then, which probably would have doubled in price in that time. But you know what I mean. So but it's easy to do it. But I'm here now and I'm happy with where I am, and I'm actually, I get these things all taught me a lesson, I think. So it's like, it's easy to get caught up in that. I completely get it. But, so for people who don't understand, right, what would you have done differently?
What I would have done is I would have pulled out a HELOC loan. I would have refinanced it. Ideally, I would have just refied it, pulled the cash out, and then I would have reinvested that cash into the multifamily space, which I didn't learn about until even after I learned about Burr, right? So it would have had to been. So it's all of this. And I could have, and then you repeat this cycle. So you can just keep repeating depending on what asset class you're buying. And so all this to say that I use all of that to just catapult me forward.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying, don't live in the past. That is what it is. And you learned. And man, shame on me if I didn't learn, right? And so that's another lesson to say, surround yourself by really people that are above you, people that are down the road from you, so that you are not making these mistakes. Like having a strong network so that you can avoid and you can listen to their cautionary tales like mine and like Barry's, like listen to the cautionary tales, take note of the signs, and then stick on the right roads.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, we're here now as well, right? You know what I mean?
That's right.
Here. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Some people never get there. So I think I'm just glad to be on this journey, to be honest, more than anything. So then you went into multifamily. What, like, I think you said that you started investing passively as an LP, limited partner.
Yes. So we invested passively, and that was our baby step. So I believe in understanding things before saying, "Hey, come and join me on this," right? Like I need to know what it's about. I need to understand the nuances, and I felt like ultimately I want to help investors find their way into multifamily, as to truly diversify their portfolios. And so I don't care, have your Wall Street, have this, but also have some real estate holdings. And so I went down the path of learning about converting my 401k into something tangible I can manage, right? So I have a self-managed 401k now. And so then I also went into infinite banking, and I want to understand infinite banking. I need to do this first. How can I tell somebody or recommend these things unless I've actually done them and I believe in them, right? I feel like there's a level of ethics and integrity that's involved. It's like trying to sell you something that I don't really believe in. So now it's Okay, I have strategies and techniques that I've used that have worked for me. I know about other options as well that I haven't used, but I can actually help you and guide you so that you can be strategic about moving forward with your investment so you can have the life of your dreams.
Mm,
That's my goal, right? So, and then investing passively. That's kind of hard. It's like money, liquid money isn't unlimited, right? I mean, it'd be nice to just, hey, let me just throw that into my own deal. However, experiencing that side of now I'm invested passively. I'm sure you've had this experience where you're wiring this chunk of money. You're like, there's an emotion that comes along with that. If I didn't choose to go and be a passive investor initially, I wouldn't be able to relate to that feeling that my passive investors will have. So
mm,
I really just believed in taking the time and spending an entire year just diving in and immersing myself completely and fully into that world. And then this year is all about going to the active side. And now I can lead and guide with confidence. So I'm more meticulous in methodical in how I've gone about it, so that I don't ever want to lose anybody's money, and I don't ever want to mislead and misguide anyone. And you can hear from my stories, I didn't have anybody to lead me. And so when you don't have somebody that can lead and guide you, you get lost. And I don't want people to be lost. I want to like go and find all the other Julies out there and like, okay, come this way. This is the way to go.
You
And
start with
here's
my wife. My wife's called Julie, by the way. I don't know if I told
if
you.
it, oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, and then I have like such a powerful network of people that I know that I have second and third sets of eyes on things, because you don't want to have an instance ever happen. And anyone who thinks that they have it figured out on their own, kudos to them. But I don't care where you're at in your journey. I think it's just wise to say, second set of eyes, just double check that I'm not blinded by something.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So what is so you guys have a company, right? You have some partners that you've put a company together. What are you guys up to right now with that?
Yeah, I did. So there are a few of us that have banded together because there's strength in numbers and you can really move in a more efficient way. And again, then you also have some more checks and balances at play, which I believe accountability is important. I'd rather have less of the pie in a sense,
Mhm.
and make sure everything is done well and with excellence than, hey, I've got this whole piece of pie to myself and there's a little mold over there.
Yeah.
That's like not good, right? So anyhow, yeah. So I have a partner. One's down in Texas, one is in Japan right now, and because he's serving our country. And then I'm here in Idaho, and we're investing in a couple of states. So we're investing in Texas and Kansas.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Really interesting story. This is awesome. It's been a lot of fun. It is. No, it's like I've had, some unique experiences, right? To sort of have a family full of people that are involved in real estate, but not necessarily understanding the investment side of it, right? And I think that's, I think that's quite common to some extent, right? A lot of agents, they don't invest themselves, right? Which is,
Oh my gosh.
which is
Most residential. Oh, don't even get me started on residential. I mean, yeah, they're very right here, right now.
right,
It's
right.
not a
I want
long-term perspective at all.
I want to
Oh, I
make
just got a commission check. I'm gonna go spend it.
let me go spend all of that.
Oh, I have to pay taxes on that? What? Yeah, I don't get me started on that one.
Well, I won't, man.
Yeah, right.
So as this show's called Wrestling with Real Estate, I thought I would ask some wrestling related real estate questions. And the first one is, what would your wrestling name be? If you picked a wrestling name for yourself, what would it be?
I think that it would probably be like if I was like a cross between a unicorn and a smile. So it'd be like Unismile or something like that.
Okay, I like that.
Smile corn.
Yeah, Smile-a-con. I like that.
Smile corn. It's probably something like that.
That's awesome. So every wrestler has a special move. What is your special move in real estate?
It's definitely the smile. It is. You know what? If the smile represents the positivity. And if you start looking sideways, and I mean, you and I, we could always get derailed and see things. And so the superpower is you look at somebody, and usually if they're your opponent, they're trying to glare you down. And you know what? People just melt with smiles.
It's
Kill
true.
them with kindness.
It's true. It's hard not to smile when someone else is smiling, right? Or laughing. If someone's laughing, it's hard not to kind of laugh along. So I think, but I think it's a personality thing as well, right? People warm to you as well if you're always smiling, and you seem like a positive person as well, right? So I think that's definitely a superpower.
I could go the opposite way though. That might be good because then it'd help keep people away from me a little bit. Maybe if I needed some personal space, put on the grouch.
Yeah, but that's not so good for real estate, right? It's
No, it wouldn't be true to who I am.
What's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your investing career?
Oh gosh, the condo. That's like the biggest body slam. And if that's the biggest one, then that was not that bad. Let's be real. That was just missing out on future opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good one. If that's what the worst is, right? Yes, you essentially lost out in money because you could have, grown it more, but it didn't come out of your pocket necessarily, right?
It didn't.
Like a rehab gone wrong or someone stole your money or anything like that.
I am blessed that I haven't had any of those situations on my hands. What we're invested in right now, there was a fire, and that's produced some interesting situations, but it's not inhibiting and it's actually not impacting things in a significant way. So
yeah, glad to hear that.
I'm going to that condo in Denver, like, geez.
It's all good. You live and you learn, right? That's what it's all about.
It is.
So was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? What was it and how did you overcome it?
I think most days, I feel like if I'm not there, then I'm not living. Like, everything that we want is on the other side of what we're afraid of. Everything that we want is on the other side of what's comfortable to us. And if we're not, so Barry, you don't know this, I'm like a super avid mountain biker, okay? And when I was in high school, and really avid in the wilderness the last couple of years, but back in high school, I went down to this, little course, and I get to the edge, and it's this little trough. You like go straight down, and it's like a V shape, right? And then you spring back up, and it's solid. It's like a 30-foot drop, right? And I just remember getting to the edge. So like, this is how I'm visualizing all of this. Get to the edge and stop. And I like sometimes start to go and I'd be like, whoa. And my friend Andy was there and he's like, you can do it. And it was for probably what feels like 4 hours, was patient with me. And I finally went and I sent it and it was great. And I didn't die and all of that. And I was terrified, but I feel like if we have to live right there at that edge, so that we're afraid to go, but then we have to have that faith to go. And so I make tons of phone calls that feel really uncomfortable, that feel really awkward. It's still awkward for me to be on this side of podcasting. I'm like, yeah, I like the other side sometimes better, the control freak issues. But if you live on that other side, if you live and you push into the discomfort, that's where your growth happens and that's where the magic happens. And that to me is really, truly living.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's so much to that, right? It's not only the growth and the success that you'll have, but the satisfaction you get from doing it as well, right? So many of these hard tasks that you build up, and a lot of it's in our head, I feel like so many times.
Oh, yeah.
We build situations up way worse in our heads than they ever really are. But once you've done that, right? Like that mountain bike example, I bet you felt amazing afterwards, right? Once you did it, it was just like such a buzz, I'm sure.
That's right, exactly. And if you retrain your thinking, and this is what I think I've not perfected or anything, but I have retrained my thinking to enjoy that, so that all the happiness, I know, like, oh, it's coming. Wait, where's the discomfort? The discomfort's there. Okay, let's go find it, because I'm going to feel great after this.
That's awesome that you actually managed to lean into that discomfort as well. Yeah.
I encourage everyone to lean into the discomfort. It becomes your superpower.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, right? If you can do the things that you don't want to do, that's freaking amazing. Yeah. Well, cool, Julie. This has been awesome. This has been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of personality on this call, and that's all your end, nothing to do with me. So I've really enjoyed that. But before we go, where can people find out about? You mentioned your podcast. Find out about your company. Find out about you personally. All that good stuff.
Awesome. Go check out Ask Me How I Know. There is a lot of personality involved. There's Monday Mindsets. Then we have a weekly interview special. So definitely check that out. You can just search Ask Me How I Know Multifamily, and then head over to LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time there and connect there. And always check out the website, 3keysinvestments, all spelled out.com.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. I'll put all those.
And I'm vicious, aren't I,
Yeah,
Barry?
yeah,
I'm so mean.
really
I'm like a vicious critter to connect with.
like talking to a pit bull right now. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
This is awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Barry. It's been awesome.